Welcome back to Rise to Liberty. Today I am joined by Adam Maxwell. But before we get into that, real quick, I do got to shout out our sponsor for Nadu Shave Company. Absolutely the best shave products that you can buy. Big Shave offers nothing but just crappy multi-blade razors that just tear up your skin. They don't care about the product that they're selling to you. Nadu actually cares. It is veteran owned, family operated, and they support this show. So go check them out. It, like I said, I personally use it and highly recommend it to anyone. It is absolutely great. You will not regret it. That is nadushaveco.com. Promo code RISE15 for 15% off your order at checkout. Go ahead, scan that QR code, and make sure and show them some love because they show us some love. Nadu Shave Co., where tradition beats modernity. Now, let's get into today's story. Adam, you are the chairman of a organization called Liberty Rising, but that's not where your story starts. Your story starts with I assume it starts earlier than this as well. But you created a company called I believe a company called Elevate, correct?
Elevated, yes.
Elevated. Exactly what was the purpose of Elevated?
Elevated is and was a digital interface for the next generation of financial technologies. So it was conceptualized in 2020. I worked very hard to try and fundraise for it in 2021. When at the end of 2020, beginning of 2021, an entire situation happened, which
Rough
kind of
time.
rough time, which I can describe as state intervention designed to systematically dismantle, sabotage, and destroy that business enterprise in the United Kingdom. So the purpose is that there's a lot of developments in technology, in financial technology especially, an entirely new paradigm reality when it comes to finances, wealth, economic activity, artificial intelligence. And my thesis was, my proposition was that everything was so complicated that it's too difficult to understand for the every person. So I conceptualized, invented, and built out this operating system, essentially, or a user interface for finances, including wealth management, operations, being able to use all the technological advances of predominantly decentralized finance, but also just like elite tools of wealth management that have been around for over a decade and still are not available to the consumer. So the ultimate goal was to revolutionize the universal experience of finances and financial technology through one single interface. That was the
Okay.
premise of Elevated.
So just for anyone who doesn't know, you were doing this in the UK, correct?
Correct. So to answer that question properly, I'll give you just a short background into my geography. So before in 2019 to 2020, I was studying at the University of Manchester quantitative economics. That's game theory, finance, economics, wealth management, and computing. And then with the pandemic, I just did a whole lot of macroeconomic analysis and playing around with the advent of decentralized finance, which was amazing, awesome opportunities, prosperity, but very inaccessible. And the same processes everyone has to go through. So I figured, well, there's got to be some way to optimize this. So that was how Elevated was born, to elevate not individual liberty at this point, it was, but just individual power and discipline through systematic engineering. So you have a greater control, and then therefore wealth, prosperity, etc. And so I started I started that. I was living in the United Kingdom, and then in the summer of 2020, with all the lockdowns, with all the tyranny, with the gym shut, with you go for a walk in the national park and the police come and say, "What are you doing here? Go home."
Yeah.
And I thought, what a horrible place to exist, uh, in general, but especially since 2020. So I moved to Bulgaria kind of serendipitously. I came out for a 3-week holiday and loved it, so I stayed. Unfortunately, while in Bulgaria, I got quite sick, which I can talk about in a bit. And I was after months of battling through this sickness without being treated properly. I decided I had to go back to the UK, get private healthcare. Was diagnosed, treated, and then through the national healthcare system, my company was reported to the authorities, and this was the genesis of this unwarranted persecution, state intervention into my legitimate and lawfully registered operating business idea at this stage, business idea, where the National Health Service said I had to justify the product, services, technology grandiosity is the word they used to them, and essentially give them direct control over my enterprise, which I refused to do. So that was how I ended up back in the UK. I tried
What
to.
was their justification for that?
So their justification is, and I quote here, that Adam presented with grandiose ideas about setting up a business and approaching highly placed people. Hence his referral to community mental health teams with which he refused or declined to engage.
Wow. Okay. And any way they can spin it, right?
Any way they can spin it. That is perhaps the least spin, distortion propaganda that's on there. They say that I've got the warrant they've got here. They say that I report being the CEO of several financial companies. This, as I was 20 at the time. The impression from that is I'm potentially hypomanic and lacking insight, or maybe he's psychotic. Or I just can't believe that a 20-year-old can possess the identity I was claiming to be in passing to the general practitioner I had to go and see to pick up my prescription medication prescribed by a private healthcare professional for a physical disease. So an innocent remark when a general practitioner of the National Health Service says, "What do you do for a living?" You say, "Well, this is what I do." You give the elevator pitch, and as an entrepreneur, I was being taught every second of your day you're pitching, you're practicing your pitching, So I gave the pitch. I gave a pitch to a doctor, and they said, the words haunting. They said to me, "Adam, you are the most incredible person I've ever met in my life." I thought, well, that's weird and inappropriate, but I guess I'm flattered. Thank you very much. And that was the report which I've outlined, that I presented with grandiose ideas about setting up a business.
Wow.
An elevator
Okay.
pitch.
And so what was the ultimate hang up that the government ended up having about this? What was their position, like their problem with you having these grandiose ideas?
It's difficult to articulate. Because I can give you many answers. Essentially, they had a report from this doctor, and that was it. And then there was no bureaucracy, no evidence, no nothing which could stop the encroachment of their tyranny other than compliance, submission, subservience, which I refused to do. For months, I refused to do this until they finally had enough, fabricated a warrant, which I have here, and I woke up to be my home was surrounded by 10 agents of the state. I was taken off and questioned about my business. So when you get down to it, I say, and this is backed up by the medical record, that it's just Marxist socialism. they just wanted my company, or they wanted to direct my company, or these people, these lowly scum, were so excited by the prospect of me that they've invented this boogeyman that they're able to justify anything, that they're able to actually write down, we recognize that this warrant what we're getting is illegal and violates his fundamental human rights, yet we feel that we are totally justified in doing so. There's so much bullshit, so much evidence, so much record that I'm able to say. But I think before we really dive into the weeds there, I think it's perhaps more appropriate to start with what I'm doing now to kind of have the way that I'll just dive into it. The way that I'm speaking about all of this is because I've been compelled into just full-time human rights international law advocacy.
Do you kind of want to give the rundown of like where you are, why you're there, and kind of like the last little while of what you've had to go through trying to seek asylum and that sort of thing?
I think we should get on to asylum as the narrative progresses. I think let's just set up a grounding as to what it is that I've been up to, so that I can inform the audience about the manner of which I'm speaking about these things, because it's all based in the record, in the evidence, and that's going to come through the narrative, and people are going to wonder why. So let's just start with the Liberty Rising Group. It's a non-profit organization, NGO, and association with a simple yet ambitious vision to establish liberty as not merely an aspiration, but a lived reality for all. And how we're aiming to achieve that is that we are championing the indomitable human spirit by defending essential freedoms that underscore human dignity. We are confronting tyranny through litigation, through media, through development, education, media, and fostering a platform and an informed citizenry. Through a dynamic network, we aim to, and we are relentlessly pursuing the cause of liberty and justice. This community we're building, Telegram, Twitter, socials, is rooted in the principles of freedom for all, responding not only to explicit threats like I exemplify, but also subtle erosions of liberty to fortify a culture intrinsically resilient to tyranny. So it's a platform that has been forced into existence so that I may champion my case, but also to build the platform, elevate my status, the influence of the group, the authority, legitimacy, and ultimate power, to champion liberty, to champion human rights, natural law, ultimately, affect public policy and better the world through a non-profit organization. So when I talk about my case, which is the first mission, the diplomatic mission of the Liberty Rising Group, it's because I've got hundreds of pages of lawsuits, hundreds of pages of evidence that I've sifted through, sorted through, compiling together, and that's really everything that I'm saying. All the allegations are supported by just pages and pages and pages of evidence. Yes.
anything government, anything government, man, they like to pump out the pages.
So that's my present occupation. Where we left off in the story was trying to determine the root of the referral, or the kind of the the assignment, I suppose.
Yeah.
I'm going to let you pose a question, and I'll chase after that.
So at this point, the state was coming after you. You know, it is definitely difficult to determine exactly why. Even cases over here, it kind of just depends on who exactly is leading it. It could be anything from personal to ideological or strictly political, or any manner of such. So they've got you in their radar, and
Correct.
they surround your house. What happens after that? They serve you this warrant. They surround your house, and what happens?
So let's just take a step back from surrounding the house, because that's how do you get from being on the radar to having 10 agents of the state
Yeah,
surrounding your house? There's 4 months of activity, of a prolonged campaign of harassment, of unlawful surveillance, of we don't have any evidence to support why we're going after him. Or we do have evidence to the contrary, but we're going to ignore it, disregard it. We're just going to make things up. So the 4 months to get there. Why was the state coming after you? So again, it's important to say that I got on the radar, and once you're on the radar, you don't come off.
yeah,
Why were they coming after me? I spoke to. So let's just give a who's who. The United Kingdom has a government. It's a totalitarian government. I don't think there's a single inch of wilderness in England. Prove me wrong. You can maybe find something in the New Forest, but I don't think there's a
yeah,
single inch. Then they've got something called the National Health System, National Health Service, which comprises over 10% of the economy. 11% national insurance contribution, but it's massive, and it's essentially universal healthcare. I don't think it's a good thing. I think it's bad, because it's not universal healthcare. It's
yeah,
universal government overreach, complete tyranny, where they believe they have the authority to control your lives in every way. We're not just talking about you're fat and we have to pay for obesity related problems. We're going to impose sugar taxes based on this mandate. We're talking about, I have had a report of a concern maybe about you, which extends beyond our mandate, but because we've heard about you, and because this is a state agency, and in the UK there is no checks and balances to keep them
yeah.
be. So what happens is, I start off with a phone call about my physical health disease. I have a disease called ulcerative colitis. It's an inflammatory bowel disease. This will be important later on in the story. It's a chronic condition, debilitating, severe pain, inflammation all along the bowels, causes some quite nasty things. And this was back way when I was first diagnosed. So being treated, gastroenterologists, medicine, we're figuring out what's going on. I'm on prednisolone, I think, a powerful, very nasty steroid treatment, said my gastroenterologist. So when I go and pick up these prescription drugs from the general practitioner, as you can be treated privately in the UK, but you can only pick up your prescription medications through the national healthcare system, which could be innocuous, but actually it's very, very sinister. Because I speak to the GP. Here's my medicine. I said, look, this is my second course of prednisone. These were my symptoms on the first course. Is it possible that you can just tell me some information about the effects of the medication? Can we have a call? Can you discuss right now, so I can more effectively mitigate and manage the disruptive effects of the
Yeah.
medication?
Completely reasonable thing to ask.
And she says, well, I'm just a lowly general practitioner. I don't know anything about prednisolone, but what I can do is I can set you up a meeting with a mental health consultant, and they'll speak to you about the drug. Okay, sounds reasonable. I say, look, let's do this by the phone. I'm busy at work. I'm also trying to leave the country. I'm trying to sort out visas and things. Can we do this by phone? Yes. So what happens on the record? Not only do I present as thought disordered by believing that I have a company being so incredible, that's, just my mere charisma has left this massive impression on this lowly GP, that she's not only gone and reported me as psychotic, but because I said I'm trying to get visas to go get back to Bulgaria or go to another country, she's written that I'm in touch with foreign governments. Uh, in touch with foreign governments,
Wow.
yeah. And then
That's
and then
quite a
on the
jump.
record, they write he's trying to leave the country. It would be greatly concerning should he leave. Right? He has a passport. We don't want him to go. This I only found out 5 months later. I'm thinking, damn. I have a business, and they're trying to, I equate that to what's the purpose of them noting this? The only reason I can think, saying it would be concerning should he leave the country. I think that's trying to get me on a no-flight list, but there's no evidence that they had and didn't go
Yeah.
any further. So from an innocuous meeting, nothing out of the ordinary, all of a sudden I'm on the radar. I've been attacked with what's known as an early intervention, but being systematically lied to and told, just to discuss your medication. There's been threats to put me on a no-fly list. All of a sudden, like that, I'm not a citizen. I'm a subject under tyranny. And at this point, I didn't even know. I was just living my best life, in a great deal of physical pain, but having the time of my life as a 20-year-old startup founder, having this incredible, innovative technology that I was very excited, proud of, and actively preparing to raise angel capital for. At this point, I was still building. I had still set up the base materials, and I'd started to reach out to some leaders of the world, which I sent maybe 2,000 outreach. 200 I got 200 responses, 150 meetings, and I converted some in amazing, unbelievable, literally unbelievable people on the the board of directors, and speak in discussions with executives to go and actually build the technology. So I speak to the mental health consultant, and we talk about prednisone, and he says, he doesn't really tell me anything. And I say, while I've got you on the line, I asked some questions about psychology of engineering experiences, which was part of my technology I was implementing. Now, this was a mistake, because what I had thought at that moment is, here I am, a citizen, a great citizen. I've got this great company, everything lawfully, everything normal. I know I'm in perfect mental health, at no risk to myself or others. This psychologist tells me you're in perfect mental health, at no risk to yourself or others. However, I cannot describe anything about the high level of questions you're asking about prednisolone. I'm just a psychologist. Sorry, you're a really nice conversation, but this is the problem with universal healthcare. This was not a healthcare practitioner. This was not someone with my health in mind. He's a agent of the government, agent of the state. And when we speak to law enforcement, we have this in mind. Anything you say can and will be used against you. When you go for a routine health discussions of perfectly legitimate physical disease, you're not anticipating that everything you say can and will be used against you and distorted into the most insane manner. And in my case, I was painted as a complete boogeyman. So when we talk about why 10 agents, I think 5 or 6 policemen, 4 or 5 approved mental health practitioners, 10 people for me. Why? Because they painted me as an absolute
So
boogeyman, as we'll get
so
into.
after you spoke to the psychologist, it kind of sounds like there were what we call over here in the States red flag laws,
Hmm.
which is basically, putting you on the radar to be able to say, this person is of concern, and then they usher it off to another part of the state to where they can investigate. And then that's what led up to your 4 months before they came and surrounded your house.
Correct. So the red flags um, is I have a startup company, right? So
It's so innocuous.
so they didn't believe the company was real. Therefore, if the company is not real, I'm delusional. And because of the grandiose nature, it's possibly psychotic. So I'm delusional and psychotic, hypermanic with no insight, um, based on one general practitioner who says you are the most incredible person I've ever met, based on based on an elevator pitch.
I
So,
mean,
all
that
right, I
seems
have
like such a backhanded compliment now, you know? Like,
so
that person set in motion such a terrible series of events that, without all of that, it's like, okay, well, like you said, it's kind of inappropriate, but thank you. But I mean, now with what resulted in that, it's kind of a backhanded compliment.
20th of January, staff attempt to complete an assessment through telephone call. He reported he could not understand why people, quote, did not fathom his existence and said he couldn't believe I am who I am, or something. So that's what they're on about. He reports being the CEO of several financial companies worth millions. People, we don't believe him. He had a telephone conversation where he reports being special and intelligent. Um, he doesn't want involve. He'd been. I got food poisoning, so they say he believes he's been poisoned by assassins in Eastern Europe. So I got food poisoning, which
Okay.
which triggered a disease, causing me to have to go back. And I said, look, I got food poisoning triggering this disease. So okay, so he's he's got he says he's the CEO of a startup company. He's talking to foreign governments, and he believes he was the subject of a targeted assassination attempt, poisoning, and that's it. Those are the red flags. 27th of January, when I spoke with the second one, discussion with Dr. Klimach. They felt there were no direct risks to himself or others were identified. However, there is clear financial vulnerability because I because I you know am dealing in cryptocurrencies and capital and finance and technology. So because I am dealing with significant amounts of money through online financial dealings, I may cause harm to my social capital, and being untreated will carry risk of further deterioration of his mental state. So because I had more money than them, my own business, because these red flags, which is he has an innovative startup company, he's had food poisoning, and he's trying to leave the country, speaking with government. All of these things, like, again, all very reasonable when you hear it from me. I had a company, I built a company. I went to Bulgaria, set it up, was doing things, had to go back to the UK, trying to leave. That's it. They say, well, here's what's going on, and because he has a company, if he's untreated, there are risks to his finances. Now, who is assessing these risks? Social workers or socialists, and especially in where I was living at the time, Manchester, very, very left wing, very Marxist people. Whereas I, at the time, had almost a decade in wealth management, dealing with six-figure portfolios, working for award-winning independent financial IFA's advisors working in the recruitment for, some of the top multi-billion-dollar hedge funds. I went to university studying economics, finance, quantitative economics, etc. I got my own business dealing with an innovative technology for revolutionizing wealth management for individuals. But I have no real risks other than a financial vulnerability. And this is so that's the red flag that's come through on the 27th of April. So I say I don't want to speak about this. Oh, so yeah, I don't want to speak about this. Like, we're done. You've your conduct has been disgusting, inappropriate, illegal, criminal, disgusting. Basically, I realized that what they said was, you're not on the television. You're not on ITV like Richard Branson. If you were who you said you were, a startup founder, I would know about you. I'm like, well, that's funny because I haven't done any public relations yet. Like, I've reached out to industry people to get them on my board of directors and try and build up an executive team for a new startup company. I've been asked, you can spend.
Why would you do any public relations up to that point?
That would be a waste of money.
Yeah.
So I didn't. I mean, I get when you list yourself as a CEO or a founder on LinkedIn, you get a lot of emails saying $500, $1,000 will put you as CEO of the year, startup founder of the year. I never spent money on that. Why would I want to? Why would I need to? So ultimately, it came down to, in this telephone phone call with a member of the Early Intervention Service of the Greater Manchester Mental Health NHS Foundation Trust. They said, on balance of probability, I don't believe you. I said, well, on balance of probability, piss off. That is a complete contravention of any and all standards of ethics and quality care. There's illegal for you to say this is crap. How dare you? Never contact me again. I make a formal report to the NHS, which, of course, strongly worded letters do nothing. What's the first thing they do? They phone up my mother. Excuse me. Are you aware your son believes he has a startup company? Yes. Who are you? Who is this? Yes, he has a startup company. So what they write is that spoke to the mother who has affirmed the existence of his company. She's insane. Something known as folie à deux, which means that my alleged state of psychosis has infected someone else who lives 400 miles away from me, because I don't know. So because she said, yes, my son is real, she's condemned as clinically insane. This is how they work. So they've got a red flag, they go investigate, they see evidence to the contrary. She's insane. They're both absolutely not. It's very easy to determine whether or not my company is real. You can do it right now. The UK company register is publicly available. You can type in my name, which is actually Adam Maxwell Sheldon. And you will find Luminary Ventures Limited, a startup company, registered for financial securities, dealing on own account, as well as being a holding company of financial technology companies. Just like that. Oh, he has a company. Food poisoning triggering a stomach disease, that makes sense. That's one of the main reasons for the onset of my disease is you're exposed to some kind of environmental factor triggering it with underlying genetic predispositions. And speaking to foreign governments, because I'm trying to get the hell out of this hellhole known as the United Kingdom. No red flags, no nothing. Again, here, 27th of January, no direct risks to himself or others. Okay? Take that evidence, formal complaint to the NHS, take that evidence. However, that's not what happened. I have to continuously get medicine from the GP. She writes that my going mountain climbing, or I think at this point I just went for a walk in, they're not even mountains in the UK really. They've got a few mountains in the Lake District and Snowdonia and Scotland, of course. But I was living in Manchester, where there's the Peak District, which are like 600, 800 meters, not of elevation, but just altitude. So it's this GP, after lying, reporting me as, oh gosh, it gets, the more details I remember, the worse it gets. Not only am I speaking to foreign governments, not only has she reported that I believe that I was the subject of a targeted assassination attempt, but she says that I don't have a company, I have a cult, an online cult. Because now I believe this came from, the elevator pitch I gave at the time said the application cultivates discipline in its users. So I think she's taken that and said, just bullshit. Anything you say can and will be used against you. All state agents.
Yeah.
Scum.
Anything you say will be spun to make up our narrative.
And in my case, and I'm sure in a lot of other cases, into the worst possible narrative, and there's nothing you can do to counter it.
But yeah, who do you go to? And they are who you're supposed to go to in instances of corruption. But when the watchmen are corrupt.
So I go for a walk in the hills, and this gets reported as I've been on a danger walk. There's a concern of financial vulnerability as I am running a business online outside of their scope. So from this point, they're trying. They're like, look, we need to try and engage with you. I've told them, piss off. Never speak to me again. What are you doing? This is illegal, right? Report it to the NHS. And I just kind of ignored it, right? These people, they have no mandate. There's no lawful reason for what they're doing. They have no authority. I just thought they're lunatics, which they were and they are. But here's the thing about the state: they are unbound. The only delusion I had at this time was believing I had human rights, believing that the state apparatus in any way would be there to protect, support, or at the very least not totally violate me in some of the worst ways possible, in atrocities, crimes against humanity. I was very wrong, especially in the UK, which we call it the nanny state. And that's kind of, my nanny, she was the sweetest woman I'd ever known. Loved her greatly. She only ever wanted the best for me. The government nanny state, it's entirely the opposite. Especially in my case, but just pick up a history book. The most malevolent force you come up against.
Completely authoritarian.
So they keep phoning me saying, we need to assess you. We need to assess you. I'm like, no, go away. I'm busy. I'm trying to run my business. I'm trying to talk to these people. So apparently this says, after being phone called and harassed by a Yasmin Udin, they'd made telephone contact with me. A young male with very grandiose delusions. He said that his business, a financial technology startup company that is data centric, is worth £4 million, and is speaking with UK's top leads, believing he has great talent and will soon be powerful. Okay, 20-year-old startup entrepreneur. They keep trying to harass me with phone calls at first. The team referred him for a mental health act, trying to engage his mother. His mother says, go away. They keep phoning Adam over the phone, saying, you're harassing me, complain, we'll get my lawyers involved. Neither conversation lasted more than a couple minutes. He sounds increasingly brittle and irritatable. When I propose we meet in person to discuss his mental health, he shouted no and hang up. So we referred him for a mental health
How dare
act.
you?
How dare? Who are these people? So
Yes.
I was referred for a mental health act apparently, where they now start turning up at my house. So I'm down in London at the time because I had an office down in London, but my rented accommodation was up in Manchester for two reasons. One, I went to university there the year before, so I was tied into a rental contract. Two, London is awful. Manchester's the governance is even worse, but at the very least, with a car, there's Snowdonia 2.5 hours to the west, and the Peak District 40 minutes an hour east. So at least you could get out into the fresh air. But my housemate phones me up. There's the government's at the door looking for you. And I told them you're in London, which he shouldn't have done because now I'm being tracked going from Manchester to London.
Yep.
But in total, there are 20 occasions where they keep going to my house, phoning me up, phoning up my mother, coming to my house. I made a complaint to the police, saying I feel alarmed, harassed, alarmed, and distressed. Now, this is a meme in England where there is a public order offence where if you say I feel harassed, alarmed, and distressed, anyone can be arrested for anything. So if you're in the street wearing a t-shirt that says I love freedom and someone says I feel harassed, alarmed, and distressed by that, they phone the police, that person be arrested. Lately, we've seen a lot of protests where someone said that the problem with Islam is that Muhammad consummated his marriage with a 9-year-old. About 50 to 100 Islamic individuals from East Midlands, I believe it's Hull, maybe York, Humber, somewhere around there, come and swarm the guy. He gets arrested. Public order offence, causing alarm, harassment, and distress to all this violent mob. So the police come. So the police come over. I phone up the police. I'm being harassed, and they write. He says he's being harassed because these state agents think they're jealous of him or something. Is the takeaway that they got from it? I said, they're attacking me for my business. I phone up the police, right? I'm being harassed by the mental health nuts of the National Health Service. They're trying to come after my business. I'm not going to tell them anything about my business. They have no right to demand this.
Yeah.
But the police, they don't do anything. So second attempt for a mental health assessment, they come to my door, 4 or 5 of them wearing masks, COVID. Well, when you get 5 random people you have no idea with coming to your house saying, tell us about your business. It says I slammed the door in their face and told them, will you fuck off? I'm calling the police. So I called the police. No one from the early intervention service should ever get in touch or attempt to visit me again. They need to piss off. Stated that 4 people turned up at his house. He's peaceful. He contacted the police, who came and gave an hour-long statement, which concluded with on their body cam, all recorded. This does sound alarming, harassment, distressing. Sorry to hear. However, you are being attacked by the state. Therefore, this is not a criminal matter, and you will be afforded no protection by the police, which of course is complete bullshit. Actually, the international law says I have reported a credible account of ill treatment, maltreatment, and persecution by the government authorities. That's supposed to go all the way up. They have to intervene. It's a criminal law, Article 3 of the UN CAT. They say it's the state that's violating you. I don't think this is maybe this isn't a criminal matter, which it is. We're not going to help you. You're on your own. So essentially, you are persona non grata, outside the protection of the law. From the 11th of March, 2021, I'm an outlaw. I no longer have any rights. I'm not a citizen. I'm hardly a subject. I'm just
a nomad, basically.
Not a nomad, but an outlaw, an invalid. I don't have any rights. A toya, just something completely violated. So they keep trying to come after me.
So they took away your legal personhood.
Correct. By the way, I've asked so this was March. I asked in May, and I'm pretty sure before then, I want that recording. they have to give me that recording by law. We've deleted the recording. What do you mean you've deleted the recording? Destroyed.
Isn't that
So,
convenient?
well, that's not the only thing that's destroyed, but nonetheless, right? So let's start speeding things up. So
Yep.
what am I doing at this time? I'm trying to reach out to lawyers, but you know what? I don't have that much money. All my money's gone on my business, into my business. I need to pay for this and that and that. I'm not paying for. I wish, the one thing to take away is, if you are being harassed, go make up a stink, do something on social media, do something to protect your rights. Get a lawyer any way you can. I went to the NHS. The NHS said, we're going to take your complaint. We're going to give you a legal advocate to take the complaint further. I thought, okay, fine, we'll do that. A couple phone calls. I went to the police several times. Phone them up. Oh, it's Adam. We're not going to talk to you. I said, no, put a sergeant on the phone right now. Give me a sergeant. I get to a sergeant. We're not helping you. Piss off. Damn. And again, I'm not taking any of this seriously. I tell my one business partner, and he says, what the heck? It's concerning. Mental health freaks, lunatics are turning up at your door. Well, yeah, but concerning, but they're mentally ill. I don't know what to do here. I phone up the early intervention service. I say, hey, I'm not going to engage with your thugs. I'm going to engage with you directly, the administration. Go right to the top. Her name was Joanne Wright. I say, hi, this is me. I'm Adam. This is my company. Go look it up. You have no mandate to do this. Why are you doing this? You're doing this because you want my company. You want to assess my company technology. That's what your people have said. You're not going to get that from me. I'm not giving you that. My company's real. None of your business. Get away. And nothing was done. So what I did is I got my business partner to phone up and affirm that I'm real, that my business is real. You need to leave our CEO alone. Nothing happened. So they keep going. At this point, they're trying to get this warrant. And they say, well, can we get a warrant? Well, actually, we have no evidence that we do not, the professionals do not feel there are any grounds to request this warrant. And it may be that he is not mentally ill, because there's no evidence for this, but his GP says that he is. So one maligned actor, who I believe is a terrorist, one actor, agent of the state, has the full support of the state, using the full weight of the state against me. So we know that we don't have any evidence. We haven't even looked up his company in the Companies House Register, which again, you can all do that. We found his flatmate says he's real. His company's phoned up, says he's real. He's got the police involved. His mother said he's real. We keep harassing her, harassing him. Phone calls in person, right, which is assault, harassment, surveillance. They're tracking. I go for a run. Rather than saying he's running, he's keeping up some degree of discipline. They say when they turn up to my house, I'm in a 3-piece pinstripe suit. So he's talking to voices in his head. So I got headphones. When I'm running, they say he's looking scruffy because I'm in a tracksuit running around the neighborhood. They're just what they did is they don't have grounds for a warrant. So let's just make it up. So they start. I get this. What do they call it? A care coordinator. Oh, care coordinator to start surveilling me. I go to the shops and she's on my street taking notes about what I'm wearing. I'm wearing a really nice mountaineering coat with goose down. She says he's in a t-shirt and a goose down. It's winter. This is a very big fluffy coat. He's probably looking disheveled. I'm like, this is a $500 coat.
Yeah.
It's very warm, very nice. So he can't look after himself. We're looking through his windows. He's got 2 dishes piled up in the afternoon. He's in meetings all day. Goes down to eat. Does it in the evening to unwind. Making up. But we've tried to get a warrant. We don't have enough. So the GP says, complete bullshit. He's got a history of extreme violence. Although he was at university, he's been expelled from school for violently assaulting a pupil. He's been expelled, and to violently assault a pupil, in today's day, that could be that. It could be to accuse someone of violent assault. That's maybe tantamount to attempted murder, right? So anywhere from there, none of it's true. Never been expelled from school. Never got into violent fights. Completely bullshit. Completely made up. What happened was I phoned up saying, I have not been this distressed in 5 years. I haven't lost my temper like this in 5 years. You have to cease and desist. So not only does she do that, that's enough to add this red flag. But then she goes ahead and says, because I said you have to cease and desist, she says, he's hired a hitman to kill us all.
Oh my Lord.
Now I've got the voice recording. I did not say anything along. I said, you need to stop this. If you barge in my house, I'm not going peacefully. Which may have been a mistake to say, but that's all I said.
Yeah.
I've been very civil, non-violent, peaceful. I've got. You need to. I said to the GP, I've gone through every bureaucracy, every administration, and they tell me you're the one that's to blame. So you need to get in touch and stop this. And so she says he's hired a hitman to kill us all. Be vigilant. And that goes to the care coordinator, who looks me up online finally, and she actually finds a video of me or of my company pitching about the business, saying everything that we're up to. Here's our business plan. Here's the team. Here's everything you need to know, because we're looking to raise money. My business partner was the one that hosted the video under a different name, and he's Asian. He was Asian, or he is Asian, but he's no longer my business partner. So they're right. We found this video of him under this different name. So now we know what he looks like. Be vigilant at your offices. Right? I'm not paying them any attention. I'm focused fully on my company. So now all of a sudden, he's at no risk, but maybe financial. He's got a company, and they say, it may be that he has a startup company. I'm unable to assess this by phone. None of your business. We need to assess this company. Needs to technology. Knock knock. No, fuck off. All of a sudden, they've now invented this paper trail where saying I'm running in tracksuits. I'm now a risk to myself. Threat to himself and others, and financial vulnerability risk, which is complete crap. They now get a warrant, and my house is surrounded. Now, the fascinating thing about this warrant, which I've always maintained was totally illegal, but I only received this last month. Duty of disclosure. Is there anything of which you might be aware that might reasonably be considered capable of undermining any of the grounds of this application, or for any other reason might affect the court's decision? Any credibility information? No. NA. Nothing. Right, that warrant, completely illegitimate. Due process. If they took me to court, said, look, here's our reasoning. We need to assess your technology. Get a court order. Speak to us. All right, fine. Completely illegal, but you got me. Nothing else to do. No due process. Here's a warrant. We've harassed him 20 times. He's refused to engage with us, and we've spun this awful narrative where they've painted me as an insane boogeyman who's a murderous psychopath, all from I have an elevator pitch about an exciting startup company. And again, these people, Marxist socialists, to them this was the time of their life. I was very exciting to them. They got nothing else going on, and they are so virtuous. They are just here looking out for my interest. So everything that they're reading, all these doubts, all these contradictions, all the evidence against their proposition, they never had an ounce of critical thinking, an ounce of due process, an ounce of legal
Marxists.
authority.
Of course, there's no critical thinking.
Just build it up. So that's how on the 29th of April 2021, I woke up to my house surrounded by 10 agents of the state for a warrant that allows them to enter my home and assess my mental state, which is important. We'll put a thumbtack in there. That's the section 135 warrant. So I say, look, I'm coming out. Meet me around the front. Slip out the back door. They weren't happy with this. They write in the police record that I dove headfirst out the window. It's the only how I could have got them like this, which
Wow.
the back door was left open because I ran to the park. I ran to the public place, which means that this warrant, which is invalid in the first place, they have no authority to detain me in a public place, only at my home, which the police have actually admitted. I think that's shaky. But my argument.
Yeah.
They said, no, we admit that we needed a section 136 to detain you in a public place. Don't worry. So I get detained. What's the detention like in UK? I run for as long as I can, 15, 20 minutes. Eventually, I'm trying to get to these sewers. I don't get there in time, out of breath. I hide in some bushes. They catch me, pepper spray out. Didn't go off, but right in the face. Yeah, you got me. I don't want to get pepper sprayed. So I get roughed up. My glasses get taken away, handcuffed, thrown in a van, taken off to a hospital. Manchester Royal Infirmary, accident and emergency. Hey, my glasses. You don't wear glasses.
Okay.
So all this, look, there is an argument to be said that, well, some of those red flags, you say you got a business that's worth a lot, like some of these things, maybe they are crazy. If there's any doubt as to the motives of the persecution, as to the illegitimacy of it all, this is the first thing said in the sectioning notes. We took Adam to Manchester Royal Infirmary A&E, where he was detained. We discussed his business. It's the first thing they say. You go through the notes. They say, actually, they tell us. So this is. People say it's like a James Bond movie. They say, tell us about your business. I'm not telling you about my business. I want a lawyer. I need. You don't have the right to a lawyer. You've been detained under the Mental Health Act. You don't have the right to a lawyer. Okay, well, I don't have any rights. Okay, who are you working for? Tell us about your company technology. I'm not doing anything. So look, why don't you all tell me your names? They stand up. They say, I'm this, I'm this, I'm this. And this lady says, I'm Julie Dillon, and I'm the one that got the warrant. So I went, all right, well, fuck you, and you, fuck you. There's 4 police outside. I say, if there weren't police right there, I'd fuck you all up. Sorry for the language, but that's
No, you're good.
That's what happened. So they write down he's calm but grandiose and condescending, verbally abusing the health professionals present. So, so I've been detained, deprived of my liberty. And again, before they executed the warrant, we recognize that executing this warrant has implications for Adam's human rights, specifically Article 5 and 8, the right to privacy and liberty. However, we believe our intervention is proportionate due to his mental illness. So again, everything they've said, right? Maybe he's mentally ill, although he's not. Although there's no evidence, although the GP. So one person says so. Taken. I'm now in their clutches. I say I'm in agonizing pain. Either the distress of the situation. I've been taken in the morning. I didn't take my medicine. I'm in agonizing pain. It felt as though my body was on fire from the inside out. I'd never been in this much pain. Maybe when I was originally food poisoning, although I didn't have the mental distress then. Maybe one time in October of 2020, but never been this much pain in my life, I don't believe. I need medicine. They say, all right, here's how it's going to work. You can't have a lawyer. You don't have the right to that. If you engage in our assessment, we'll give you medicine.
Give us what we want, and we'll give you your medicine.
Right,
that is wicked. That is wicked.
And that is the definition of torture: to inflict severe mental, physical, psychological anguish for the purpose of coercion or extracting information from someone. So I've been punished by refusing to engage in their assessment for the 4 months until then. And then I'm in assessment. Fuck you, I'm not telling you anything. Okay. Well, you don't have a lawyer. You're not going anywhere. We're here all day. You're in pain. Talk through our assessment and you'll get your medicine. Okay. Again, I'm not telling you anything about my business. tell us about your business. Who are you working for? Who are you working with? What are your plans? Tell us about, and this is in their records, in their notes. We want substantial information about the products and services that you intend on offering to prospective customers. They say I'm well versed in economics and technology. I'm speaking volubly in impressive sounding terms, but we don't believe any of it. That was it. They asked me about my business. They said, "Tell us about your this poisoning incident. You have ulcerative colitis." I'm like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, give me my medicine." I said, "Were you poisoned?" I said, "No comment, none of your business." They asked me, "No comment, none of your business." What I ended up doing is I said, "I'm not going to tell you anything about my business. I'm not telling you a thing. I will tell you about the nature of my business in order that I may verify the credibility of my existence, my identity, that I'm real, and you can let me out and you can go to hell." So that's what I did. I said, "Look, I'm not going to tell you anything about my business, but what's going on is there's financial technology, there's cryptocurrencies, there's all these new problems in the world that need a
Yeah.
solution. And what I'm doing is I built this platform, it's a user interface that's solving that." And they asked me a bunch of questions. And basically what they get at is they start accusing me of engineering a financial scam, which is either an international financial tyranny, or is designed to facilitate either international money laundering or terrorist financing. And they say ultimately that I'm
Wow.
posing a threat to the national security interests of the United Kingdom through the attempt to build a platform that's giving financial control to the people and taking it away from banks. And then I'm like, I get accused of being an agent of the Mossad. And that threat to national security, an agent of the Mossad. Who are you working for? Who are you working with? Tell us about your ulcerative colitis. And so the purpose of a section interrogation of the Mental Health Act is all about assessing company, technology, physical health cognition, and mental health. Again, all in their notes. We did not even assess his cognition. We did not assess his cognition. It is evident that he is grossly oriented in time and place, and there are no perceptual abnormalities witnessed. So, so I'm in custody. I've been handcuffed, taken there. Handcuffs came off. Being physically tortured, of course, mental, psychological torture. I'm not telling you about my company. You're all these awful things. You're a terrorist, essentially. You don't have any rights.
Yeah.
You're not allowed a lawyer. We're depriving you of your medicine. Tell us about personal things. Why would I tell you anything? None of your business. I'm not giving you any substantial information. That's what they've written. Okay, well, he's grossly oriented in time and place. We don't know what's wrong with him. He is definitely unwell because the identity he's purporting is insane. A startup founder, right? Not I'm a woman, not I'm black. I think I have a company. So
Yeah.
that identity is clearly insane. Because of that, I'm seeking investment online. I'm at risk. I pose a financial risk to myself because of everything we discussed. I'm a risk to myself and others.
I mean,
Diagnosis unclear.
the fact that they are Marxist, this actually does make sense because you're trying to participate in the marketplace, and all of that to a true Marxist could be considered terrorism from their standpoint. I've heard people claim that working for a wage is tantamount to slavery. So, I mean, as crazy as it is, it makes sense that this would all be coming from Marxist.
As crazy as it is, it makes sense. That will be important later on in the story. And everything I've said to you, my story until then, crazy as it is, that makes sense. Nothing incoherent, no contradictions, just impressive, amazing. For example, the people I had on my board, the world leading actuary, The retired risk manager, managing director for risk of I believe it's KPMG, and his partner for anti-money laundering, a president of a World Trade Center, the lead for capital markets, financial technology, something about Enron and 2008. This guy was very impressive. I asked him to be the chairman. He declined. Very impressive board of director, very impressive technology. I didn't even give away the secret sauce of it. Crazy, even impressive beyond the comprehension of most ordinary people. Like, I don't mean to talk myself up at all, but it's just how it is, clearly, evidently. But it makes sense. It all follows logically. It's just beyond their comprehension, and I don't have to justify myself to social workers when I'm the financial professional. I say you're a financial vulnerability risk. We want to assess your technology. Now, what's very funny, again, before I get into imprisonment, incarceration in a psychiatric hospital, we've this big file down here. Most of that is attempts to gain any accountability in the United Kingdom, and we complaint to all authorities, and they've all covered up, closed ranks, massive whitewash, national conspiracy. What they ultimately said is, it's not that we didn't believe you had a company, it's that we perceived it to be grandiose, and that was the concern. So it wasn't the fact that, again, there's several flags.
By whose standards? Grandiose by whose? Like,
by the general practitioner.
Wow. And just to be clear, so this general practitioner, I mean, she's not somebody high up, right? Like, she's just kind of like an entry level.
So who this general practitioner was? I went to University of Manchester. They have the cheapest student accommodation called Oak House. Her practice is attached to the cheapest student accommodation at one of if not the largest single campus in the United Kingdom, and that's her practice. She's no one. My grandfather called her like a back garden, backwater, no one GP. That's who she is. No, we've reported all her conduct. Here's what here's the lies she said. Here's everything she's done. And the NHS say they got her business partner to investigate, and her, and some Dr. Muhammad, and they said maybe some things happened, but no wrongdoing. She acted in your interest. So she's had no action against her for all of these crimes. Now, every crime I can talk about, she's complicit in all of them, and she's been the main driver. She's the one that has borne false witness, ultimately, triggered it all, pushed it all. Again, they say we haven't found, in 4 months of investigation, we found no evidence to support her claims. But the GP is saying continuously. And then she's gone and escalated it with perjury. Right? This warrant is perjured and illegitimate.
Yeah.
But the perjury is we can finally get this warrant because he has physically threatened us with a hitman. Yeah, he has stated expressly he does not want involvement from services. He's called. Oh, this is crazy. Listen to this. He has now refused, despite numerous attempts from the early intervention service. Adam's engagement has been extremely limited at best. He is now refusing all offers of support, inclusive of medication, and has called the police on a couple of occasions, many occasions, stating he is being harassed for being an exceptionally intelligent person, and the early intervention service are jealous of him. He has expressly stated he does not want involvement from the services. Medication. Fuck off. Right. Why do I need engagement with the services? You want to assess my company. You want to direct my company. I have a board of directors I'm answering to every.
And mind you, this is like the medical wing. And they're interested in the technology, which not their place at all.
The grandiosity of the over enterprise. Now, listen, maybe, devil's advocate, maybe they had a point, innovative technology, revolutionary, maybe you were a threat to the national security of the financial system. Okay, well, where was the financial or technology or business professional in my section interrogation? Only approved mental health practitioners, whom are all Marxists, who have all been on that original troop, that gang, to attack me for 4 months. There was no objectivity. So what happened was, when they said, "Give us your medicine, tell us about your business, and we'll give you your medicine." I say, and this is all in their records, okay, I will tell you about my company. I will pass with flying colors. Bam, medicine. I thought, I could talk my way through it. Here's proof that I'm real. I can answer every question of yours. I can't understand what problem you have, but they are all deranged. They are literally insane. They are the lunatics that run the asylum. There's no due process, no objectivity. They're all on this ideological prejudice agenda, not only to attack me, but most importantly to attack this boogeyman which they had invented. Now, I've been compelled into a lot of psychology. I was doing it's not by me phoning up my mother and telling her I have a company for over a year. It's by having all these people rowing on the same boat, no critical thinking. They're all together. There's no outside voices of reason. So it's all unreasonable. It's all ideological. And clearly, there is no basis in mental health or medical care, which constitutes torture alone, let alone everything else. So I get taken off to a psychiatric hospital. I'm told, "You're here for 2 weeks. You can see a tribunal in 8 days earliest." And that's it. You have no rights. You're not allowed outside. You're locked up. Sayonara. I had business meetings with venture capitalists who were interested in investing in the company. I'm in a psychiatric hospital. I still don't have my medicine. My parents, my father drives up that the night 29th. My mother gets a train, I believe, the next day. My phone's on very low percentage. I managed to phone my mother. I've been kidnapped by the government. Come help. And I don't have any medicine. They're torturing me. So they go through my residential address, pick up the medicine, get to the internment camp, is what it is, right? An incarceration without any judicial process, so an internment camp. Get there for 9 o'clock. I'm still sleeping. Here's his medicine. Give it to him. They don't give it to me. They've taken away my phone. My mother's now brought the charger. It gets charged by the end. No medicine. I undergo an extensive psychiatric review, evaluation by someone called Dr. Shah. He says, he gets to me in the afternoon. He says, "I'm sorry, it's the afternoon. I've spent all morning doing extensive due diligence on you." And this is a direct quote from him in the discharge summary 1 week after I was released, so the 7th-ish of May 2021. "There was so much substantial evidence to support your existence, identity, that you are either the most marvelous scam or fraud artist of the 21st century, or much easier, you're just legitimate." So I undergo an extensive psychiatric
I wonder
review.
which one.
An extensive, what's more unreasonable, what's more reasonable? An extensive psychiatric review which finds that my company is legitimate, everything I've said is real, I have no symptoms of any signs of any mental illness whatsoever. Everything I've said is backed up. I show my Instagram, I show my LinkedIn, or he found my LinkedIn. The first thing he did, company's house, Adam. Oh, he's. I was released that day. I was released, I think, at 5:15 in the afternoon. I was given the discharge release at about 5. At 5:15, they finally said, "Here's your medication." I've been in relentless brutal physical agony, as though my body were on fire the whole day. As a result of this, I ended up having to need 2 private operations to assess the damage and make sure nothing too bad occurred, because there are potentially life-threatening complications if you leave it untreated, like that, and especially it gets flared up by stress or distress. So I get released, and the doctor who releases me, he's legitimate. There are no grounds whatsoever to justify this. In fact, if I just pull up the, I get released. He says, "I'm going to release you. I want you to go home, have one night's sleep, and run. These people are after you. Run." That's what we do. We go home, order a takeaway. We pack up as much as we can from my home, and we would go back to London. So 1 week later, he debriefs me. He says that it was an evil persecution by sick fantasists. That I have this disease is what caused this accusation of poisonous acid. There was no justification. I have never discharged someone. I would not discharge so quickly unless there were no grounds, no evidence from mental health. You are a young person owning a company, very passionate. I could not justify even a day more. You were sectioned for being, the doctor says, grandiose delusions, financial company. He says the accusation, the sectioning was for delusional psychosis. In the words of the doctor, who I engaged with, because at this point I'm in a psychiatric hospital, he's the only one that can release me. All right, man, you have the authority to assess me. These people don't. They say, yeah, the early intervention service didn't believe your company, your board members, your valuation, your economics. He says, I'm just a doctor, but you could save anywhere from 4 million to 300 million, and that's valid. Valid for what you're doing. Modest even is what he said. So you do not have any mental disorder. This is crazy. So yeah, that's the story of the first time I was kidnapped and tortured, and what's the genesis of everything. Now, I don't know how much time you have. I can talk about the second time I was kidnapped, the continuous attempts to do so, the surveillance going on, the compulsion to leave the UK. I'll get onto that first.
Yeah.
We can then talk about asylum, the business, Liberty Rise Group, however much you want. I
Well,
have time.
and we can always have you come back too. So if we don't, whatever we don't get to today, we can always have you come back. But yeah, let's just keep moving on down the path. Like so you got out of basically
psychiatric isolation in the Altrincham Priory, Greater Manchester.
That's just wild. That I'm not even sure what to say about that. But you got out, and first, like, how do you decompress from that, or do you?
I lost a lot from those 2 days. We had just started working with a company called Wholesale Investors, where we'd made this video which they'd seen. We'd reached out. They showcased us on an event called Capital 2021. We got several dozen leads from there. We were supposed to follow up with. I was unable to. It didn't affect me much then. I was kind of the mindset that I didn't believe it. I was very resilient, resistant. Again, I say I resist tyranny. I defied them. I said, "F you! I'm not telling you anything." Consequently, I was sectioned for refusing to do so, for refusing to comply, give them the intelligence they wanted. The entire time, my mind was like this, strong, whatever. It's not going to phase me. It was life-threatening trauma, and I have, contracted post-traumatic stress disorder from that, because that's just what it does to you. But the thing about that, it doesn't hit you straight away. It takes, in my case, it took a month. Some people can take 8 months, a year. But I mean, when it hit me, it felt as though, and it hit me the first weekend I got to Bulgaria. We went up to the mountains for a party up there. It felt as though someone had just whacked me around the head with a baseball bat. I was disoriented. I was tripping everywhere. My head has never felt the same since. Um, it was, yeah. So how do you compress that? At the time I didn't. So I have a smartwatch here, kind of smart, half smart. It's got a stress monitor in it. My stress ratings were like 100 just the entire few weeks I was left in England. And again, those, you know, we can move on from England, but this is only half the story in
Yeah.
England. It wasn't fun. It was awful. You know, I felt I had to leave Manchester, which is fine. Go to London, it's fine. Living out of my car, and the office that I'm working in as well, which belongs to my father. Living out of car, fearful. You know, you're not allowed any weapons in the UK. They come at you, you're messed up. They've been tracking me. They've been surveilling me for several months. For at least 2 months, they've been surveilling me by then. And again, the records say, you know, oh, he's left England. He's now in London. Maybe he's here. So that they're continuing to track me. But you know, I had no paranoia before. I believed my human rights, my dignity, my lawful conduct would be enough to protect me. No, didn't have any paranoia. When it comes to the government, you should. Something I just posted on
Agreed.
the Telegram right now is that no matter how paranoid or conspiracy minded you are, what the government is actually doing is worse than you imagine.
Yes,
By
great
William
quote.
Blum, former U.S. State Department employee. So I had no paranoia. There was an insidious government conspiracy against me. I didn't pay any mind. Maybe that's a mistake. Definitely, it's a mistake. I
Yeah,
did pay
so
mind. I spent
we
I
when
spent
all of
two
this
dozen hours.
when all of this started, I assume you didn't really understand or even grasp the full gravity of all of this, right? Like it probably oh, probably took a minute for it to all sink in, right?
Are you talking about so just the timeline? This started New Year's 2020, 2021.
Well, just like
For
the gravity of the situation that
I had
this is a lot bigger of a situation than
I
you
had
initially
no
thought.
I had no idea that I'm being harassed by some Marxist lunatics. Pay no attention, tell them to fuck off. You know, we need at my door. They're saying we need to assess your company, your technology. No, get out of here. Um, wake up. House is surrounded. Knock, knock, knock. Open up. Go to the window. Who is this? They write, you know, he's shouting at the window. He's causing a scene. The neighbors are looking. You know, he's in the wrong for drawing attention to the surrounded home. Now at the time, you know, of course, fight or flight, adrenaline, but you don't process any of that. So just on the psychological dimension of all this, I was aloof, unaware until then, and all of a sudden, life-threatening. But this is the essence of post-traumatic stress disorder. There's two things. The first is that your psyche, your brain, your cognition is stretched to a level that it's not intended to go to, and that causes something known as, I know in statistics it's hysteresis, which is like plastic deformation. You know, rubber bands can go like this, but if you push it too far, it's gone too far. So
Yeah.
these neurons for life-threatening distress, trauma, your brain does not shut off from that. And so that's the first aspect. And the second aspect is it's so overwhelming, you are unable to process it. So the only effective therapy I found for post-traumatic stress disorder is something known as eye movement desensitization reprocessing therapy, or EMDR, where you sit in a room, the psychologist or the therapist, tick, 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 or they can do it like this. And you think about the memory, and you picture the memory in your mind. They say, how distressing is this for you? 8, 9, 10. And then you say, right, just think about that, and eyes side to side to side to side. And then they start introducing different trains of thought, or kind of they, you're not supposed to think of anything, but you do think of things. So they say, what did you think about? And you tell them, they write it down, and then they follow that psychotherapy. And it's about desensitizing the experience. So you start off, it's 9 tens, then 7, 6, 2. And he said, is it 2? Yeah, all right. Is it still 2? Maybe it's a 1. No, we've done that memory. So you desensitize that memory by allowing your mind to go back and properly process that through cognition psychotherapy. And the other thing is that you're reprocessing the memory. So I remember one of the most disturbing images. There's 2 of them. One is when I'm in the room saying, F you, you don't have any rights, what are you doing here? And the other one is I'm in bed. I wake up from a nap. I'm working full out to do my entrepreneurial activities. I wake up from bed, knock, knock, knock at the door. That knock, knock, knock was ingrained in my psyche. Didn't process it at the time, but it was stuck in there, just a switch in the brain. Yeah, it was truly a living hell. The post-traumatic stress disorder, worse than the torturous ordeal, if I'm honest. Way worse. And it took me several months to be able to find any therapy center in this foreign country. I was compelled to leave to involuntary exile. And then it took again several months to find the EMDR specialist therapist, especially one that speaks English, as well as one that doesn't have a year's waiting list. So it was just the most awful time of my life, from 29th of April 2021 until I started therapy in 2022 January, and every week, months and months, starting to resume normal function. I mean, when you live a normal life and people talk about depression, especially some of the people that talk about depression, you think, well, can you really feel like that? I remember days I didn't want to do anything. Wouldn't leave the bed. Didn't want to function. Just one benefit is I don't drink, so I wasn't able to. Maybe benefit from my physical health, maybe, but I'm sure a lot of people just push that away with substances.
Well, it's easy to do, but I mean, obviously the bad part about that is it just masks. It throws on a Band-Aid. It doesn't actually ever heal anything. People say having a drink or whatever usually helps you decompress or relax a bit, and it doesn't. It actually doesn't. It just makes things worse.
One thing that's quite interesting is I think there's probably 2, 3. There's a few drugs that do help, that don't just mask it. So ecstasy has a therapeutic effect. So not only do you feel better, but also there's a psychedelic element to ecstasy that allows you to do some reprocessing of that and just feel a bit better.
Mushrooms are usually great for that. Psilocybin.
And then, I mean, Yeah, and then amphetamines, I imagine, would be good, stimulate you if you're super depressed. The medicine that I have to take every day actually, that's cured most the rest of my symptoms that therapy didn't get is it's called modafinil. It's what they give to fighter pilots to keep them awake and alert. So when I'm not taking this drug, which is like I forget in the morning, say, my head hurts. I feel drowsy. I feel lower, which it's a non-steroidal, sorry, a non-amphetamine stimulant to take away narcolepsy and just increase awareness. Maybe has a neurotropic effect, but it's not like Adderall.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like yeah, if I think the only way I like if I'm not on this drug, it physically hurts in my mind. I think I'd need to go to like a Chinese monk retreat for 4 months to
Yeah.
fix this one day.
Yeah. Well, if if it's okay with you, I would like to break this up in two because I think this is such an important story. Um, not that I want to wrap up right this minute. I do got to get going here soon, but I really do enjoy getting the detail because I do believe that your story is so important. Um, so I would like to get you back on, so we can kind of get into the second half of this.
Sounds great. Depending how long you have, you can let me know if you'd like. Is there any elements of the story so far, of the narrative, that either you want further elaboration on, or I've missed some details, or something's being unclear?
Um, one thing I am curious about is so obviously your family knows, your business partners would have known. Was there anybody outside of these groups that were aware of this situation?
Uh, my family didn't know. I mean, put yourself in my shoes at the time, aloof to what's going on, not understanding the gravity, severity, the malevolence of the situation. Um, I'm doing just living my life, uh, running my business, and there's mental health freaks at my door, phoning me up, harassing me, demanding. Uh, like I wasn't, I didn't feel stigmatized by it because there's nothing. Again, there's no grounds for any of it, but I didn't feel comfortable advertising it to anyone.
Yeah.
I confided in my business partners, and I don't know what to do, and we're trying to deal with things, and they were harassing my mother because that was the phone number on the system. But no, I didn't discuss this with anyone. Now, when I was released from the psychiatric hospital, we've gone to the police, we've filed reports, we've sent letters to all the chief executives of the state agency, the Greater Manchester Mental Health NHS Foundation Trust, combined Greater Manchester Authority. We sent what's known as subject access request here, Freedom of Information Act in America, to the police, like 2 weeks after this occurred, May 2021, first 2 weeks. We want all the information. Here's the case numbers. We want that recording March the 11th at my house. We want the body cam footage of me being arrested, being tackled, the pepper spray. I want the name of the officer that's pulled out the pepper spray right in my face. I want all details, everything. How's this warrant? Everything. Now, having reported ill treatment, it the the international law of everything, under various conventions, specifically the United Nations Convention Against Torture and its associated protocol. I'll just pull that up, which is there's the Convention for the Protection of All Persons from Enforced Disappearance, as well as Declaration of Protection against those subjected to torture or other cruel, inhumane, or degrading treatment. Now, again, we've when I talked about the section itself, there's something known as the the principles of medical ethics. These are a universal instrument of medical practitioners. It has similar provisions in there as the Geneva Conventions, which is how you are obligated under international law to treat detained prisoners within your persons.
Yeah.
So I believe I'm covered by the Geneva Convention, but specifically medical intervention. You look at this resolution, and every single principle there has been breached, which makes it torture. Let alone, I was tortured. Here's how.
Yeah.
There's evidence of it. Torture. So I've reported this, and it's also a crime against humanity by the Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court. I've reported this to the credible accounts, credible evidence, to the competent authorities. It's supposed to go all the way to the top. Cover up, cover up, cover up. The Freedom of Information Act I sent to the police. What they sent was half of what they had, and half of that was all redacted. Under those standards, obligations, you cannot redact any of that. It is imperative for the accountability of justice that I'm able to receive all of my data completely unredacted. And then we say, so we sent that in May. They say, due to the high volume of requests, it may take, we're obligated to give you this within 30 days. Due to the high volume of requests, it may take 2 months. It took 2 years. We chased it up, 2 years on, here you go. We say, well, where's this, where's this, where's this? They say, well, first off, we've deleted it. Secondly, we never recorded it in the first place. Prove us wrong. They said, we do.
Who are you going to go to?
Although it is standard practice that all the police officers wear body cameras, although you allege they were on, I've got pictures proving it. Although you came in the morning, the battery life on these things don't last all day. There were 5-6 police officers that all of them turned them off. There's problems with battery life. We don't retain the records for that long. A matter of 1 or 2 weeks is when I submitted the request. As such, you're not having any of it, especially that call, that in-person recorded statement, the 11th of March 2021, which they've redacted all of their records for. But all of their, it's just big black block. Yeah, we've attended his house, alarm, harassment, distress, everything else blacked out. Where they say, well, this does sound awful, but I've even gone to the member of parliament, my mother's residence, and he says, wow, this does sound like a sinister conspiracy. Here's what we recommend. Go speak to Liberty, an organization in the UK called Liberty, which I believe is owned by a Labour MP. I phoned them up. They said, well, too much for us. Here's maybe a hotline or something you can deal with, but we don't get involved in this kind of thing.
Maybe they should change their name.
They gave decent, reasonable advice, but also they said, here's some solicitors that you need to go to, or phone all those solicitors. And they said, well, was this human rights? It's mental health. We're not involved in mental health. Well, no, it's not mental health. I've actually produced I've claimed asylum. I've already proven it's not mental health. No, we're not interested. Okay, go to mental health. This is very complicated. Human rights. We're not competent. No one wants to do anything. I've got the phone call with the MP recorded. Now, my mother, she did not do the best job at articulating everything. She phones up in distress, like a year after, crying. This has happened to my son. I don't know what to do. But we've got him on recording saying, this does sound rather sinister. What's happened to your son? How awful. So I've got hundreds of pages of evidence to support every single allegation that I'm saying here. Nothing's been done. Nothing's been done. What we'll do is we'll just, without going into detail, I'll wrap up the rest of the story. I'm still being attacked in the UK as another kidnapping, another instance of deliberate torture, physical. I get the hell out of Dodge, get a plane to Bulgaria. In Bulgaria, I try and get residency. It didn't really work out for whatever reason. I don't know. I think one reason, they say another. Especially, I spent 2 months doing nothing other than like rotting in depression, PTSD.
Yeah, understandable.
And you've got 3 months to do it. By the time I did everything, it's 5 months. Okay, I can't get residency. Well, yeah, don't mean to do it, but yeah, I know it's going to be controversial, but I went and claimed asylum. I tried to do that first, and they said, "You're English." But, yeah, I've been persecuted by tyranny of the government. But look, go for residency, and they said, if you get refused asylum, you're gone forever. You get refused residency, you come asylum. So I claimed asylum. I submitted 24 pages of evidence and over an hour's statement, and the decision came back rejected, because this is outside the mandate of the NHS. The UK has a perfect, infallible human rights record. It is a democracy where none of this could occur. Consequently,
maybe they should tell that to India, or about half the world.
They were bombed in World War II by the British, an intentional war crime. Churchill said, we will break their spirit if we bomb the shit out of their capital city. And they did, and Bulgaria surrendered. So there's been no instances of human rights violations in the UK in recent years. The government works fine. What you're alleging here would be illegal. There are mechanisms to prevent and safeguard impunity. None of the mandate, and it is illogical that they would be attempting to persuade the complainant, petitioner, me, of the non-existence of a company which is lawfully registered and operating legitimately.
So basically, they just said that they don't believe you, and they took everything at face value because this exists. It couldn't have happened.
They say there are these contradictions in the refugee history, and there's been no substantiated allegations to support this account, even though I gave 24 pages of evidence, mostly compiled from the official record that I was able to get hold of by that time. I took it to the appeals court. Without getting into it, I wasn't allowed to go to the court. In the appeals court, my previous lawyer read me some of the transcript. They said, there is 24 pages of evidence. However, this has been compiled by the complainant, not through a Bulgarian lawyer or official, so we're going to disregard it. Subsequently, there's been no evidence submitted to the court. So the discussion of the Sofia Administrative Court was not about the case, no individual merit, only about their misconceptions of the rule of law in the UK, where they repeated the assertion that this would be illegal. There's no media reports, it's just completely unbelievable. He's not even here to present or argue a case. No. I'm supposed to be able to appeal that. They're supposed to tell you, come to court. They're supposed to tell you, we've made a decision. They're supposed to tell you, come appeal it. 6 weeks after that, when I'm saying, when's my court day? When's my court day? Where can I get a lawyer? Knock at the door, you're being deported. What the? It's been, I go, we chat, really nice guys actually, say, we're sorry this happened to you. This is illegal, corrupt. I say, well, I want to appeal this to the Supreme Court. I say, well, you have 2 weeks to appeal. It's been 6. You're being deported.
Wow. So my question is and this is kind of a broad question, but have you appealed, not like through the court system, but have you gone to any other resources in any other countries, tried reaching out possibly to somebody else?
From that date of the final decision of the court, I had a 3-month window to make an appeal. Now that I've exhausted all domestic remedies, I made an appeal to the European Court of Human Rights. So I had to go to Greece for 8 days. Beautiful holiday, adventure, mountains, Olympus, Pindos, Vikos Gorge, beautiful. Come back, I'm just doing law. We make the appeal, we make the submission to the European Court of Human Rights, and they say, due to the backlog, it may take 2 years for us to hear anything. Okay. Um, throughout all this while, the past 2 years, my grandfather, my 85-year-old grandfather in the UK, he come out of retirement to advocate for my case in the UK and try and get any accountability, any justice. He's gone to every authority, and they've all said the same thing: cover up, cover up, cover up. So I've exhausted domestic options in the UK, can't do anything. I've exhausted everything here, gone to the European Court of Human Rights. What's next? The United Nations. So
Yep.
I get a new lawyer here because I wasn't pleased with the one for the ECHR. He was a great lawyer, but maybe, but my case wasn't his expertise. It was very, very difficult.
Yeah.
And the language barrier, etc. So I'll get a new lawyer. They're fantastic. We go to the United Nations Human Rights Council, the Office of High Commission of all Human Rights. 14th of July, we send a letter, 6 pages. A month later, I phone up, what's going on? A month later, I phone up, what's going on? They say, oh, we have received that. I say, right, I want a receipt. Okay, we've received your letter. That was the 13th of September. I've got that. I've got the reference number, got their receipt, nothing. So we've done the UN. What else can be done? So about this time, when we're working with the lawyer, I said, what can I do? I said, you know what? I can do one thing, which is these are egregious violations of international law. I can appeal to other countries. And next episode, I'll tell you about one country in particular who told me no. We are obligated to help you, but you don't have a legal status. So in Bulgaria, because you've been persecuted, so we're not going to help you. So I've said, okay, well, I've got a list of 63 countries, and I'm doing something known as I've said it's the diplomatic pursuit of justice, or a diplomatic mission, where I've written out a lawsuit, and now I'm writing out a new format for it to align with the diplomacy element. And I'm reaching out to 60 countries, the most powerful countries, all the EU member states, Russia, China, Ecuador, South Africa, India, you name it, maybe the United States, thinking about it. Just saying, here, 3 pages, here's what happened. An annex, here's 13 breaches of international law, and here's a second annex filled with evidence. I need help. Here's what you can do. And I've got all these actions. Here's what you can do. I need help. I have no rights. I have no justice. I have no means of getting out of the situation. I cannot travel. If I get stopped on the train, they say, where's your visa? Where's your passport? You need a passport. Wait, look, I've got this letter from my lawyers. Here's the law. Please don't take me away. I was almost deported in November of 1 year ago. Not a good situation, no way out, except through the advocacy work of the Liberty Rising group. So I've been compelled to...
I was just about to ask you about. So, and that's kind of what I want to end on, at least for this episode. Just to recap, what is the Liberty Rising group, and what do you plan to get out of it?
Sure. Liberty Rising Group, uniting for freedom, working for your liberty. Right? We're championing liberty through advocacy, media, and development. Right? So one element is kind of think tank. It is the formal term for it, and for that we're partnering up with an organization, hoping for some grant funding there. Looking forward to that. Been very positive response so far. We've got a Telegram channel, that's our main thing. Memes, papers, Substack, highlighting liberty, and the contraventions, infringements there, not just explicit threats, but subtle erosions.
All very high quality, by the way, super high quality. I love what you're doing with it, which is kind of where, our friendship started, is with the Telegram group. I found you that way, and everyone listening right now, go check that out. I didn't add it to the description, but by the end of this, it will be in the episode description, so you can go check this out. And if you don't have a Telegram account, now is a perfect time to sign up and go follow Adam over there, because what he's doing over there is super high quality, and it's really great content.
So we've got the Telegram group at Liberty Rising Group, on Twitter at Liberty Rising X. There's a Substack in the Telegram. Should probably aim to expand. What we want to do, we're doing litigation, right? Championing my cause, doing the diplomatic mission. So it's not me sending out to 60 governments, it's Liberty Rising Group, which adds authority and impact, and positions the organization as a platform that we're going to have this monumental case dealing in, I've already submitted hundreds of millions of legal redress against the United Kingdom in the European Court of Human Rights. I'm now taking it to the International Criminal Court and all the major governments of the world. We're going to have that as our prime pinnacle piece, and using my story to try and advertise and raise the presence of this group. Educating through memes, through writings, articles, through discussions, as well as, I started off as a financial technologist, economist, etc. By now, I'm a pretty good legal professional. So not only am I advocating for my rights, but we've already, through our efforts, got someone that's come to us and said, my property rights have been massively infringed. I'm worth this much money. I have nothing. These are my conditions, and we've signed on as their advocates. We're not qualified lawyers, but from me being in this position of utmost vulnerability, having no idea, law, legal rights, everything, all of a sudden I know everything to do. I'm speaking to international governments, organizations, lawyers, etc. So I've taken up his case. We've already done a dozen hours of legal advocacy for him. We've pulled him off of one solicitor who's draining his breach of professional standards, found a better one, doing all the case, pushing that forward. That's about all I can say about it. But liberty, property rights, natural rights, etc., education, awareness. What we want to do is make sure that liberty and freedom and human dignity is at the forefront. And not only do we recognize the importance of these principles, of these concepts, but also know what they are. What I've been through is completely unacceptable. But what most people, there's a lot of people that go through maybe less severe, but still completely egregious, unacceptable violations of natural law, but also of national and international law. It's a travesty, this modern world. It's all on its head. So that's what we're doing. The goal is to build up the platform through advocacy, litigation, media, memes, etc., and to, as I say, the vision is to aspire to a world where liberty is a lived reality for all.
Yeah, and I think that's not only a very valuable goal, a very obtainable goal, but it's incredibly noble. That's one of the things that I wanted to do with my platform as well. Seeing the abuses and to a lesser extent experiencing my own, comparatively speaking to yours. But being able to highlight stories like this is incredibly important to me. Having people realize that there are abuses going on, not in just this country, in other countries all around the world. Tyranny isn't discriminatory. It goes after everyone. And it's very real.
Omnipresent, omnipotent, and how can you, a lowly individual subject of tyranny, resist? And that's, again, it's a platform, and I've labeled it Liberty Rising Group. So Liberty, that's you. We're going to lift you up, and it's a group. It's an association. It's a non-profit organization, NGO. I want to to build a network here, and as you say, nobly assist.
Yeah. Well, so let everyone know where they can find you one more time, and we'll end on this one for right now, and then hang out after the end, and we'll chat, and we'll set up part 2.
Thank you very much, Jacob. The best way, the most active we are, is Telegram at Liberty Rising Group and Liberty Rising Chat. Twitter, Liberty Rising Group X, or maybe Liberty Rising X. Let's have a look. Liberty Rising X, and then all other links will be found on there.
Awesome. And after the end of this stream, I will update that in the episode description. You will be able to find that. So just go to the description, hit the links, and you'll be able to go from there. And on that note, make sure to go to risetoliberty.com/links and find your preferred platform. Make sure and follow us on X or Telegram, Twitter. You know what? It's not X. It's still Twitter. I don't care what anyone says. X is such a stupid name. Cool branding, very cool branding, but it's Twitter. I didn't X. I tweeted. But anyways, make sure and follow us there. Keep an eye out for part 2. We'll definitely get that going here soon, and got some more episodes coming up. Got something about CBDCs coming out because that's taken the world by storm. Cato came out with the Cato Institute came out with a poll that showed that only 16% of Americans support a central banking digital currency. I believe it's because mainly those 16% don't know what it is. Most people don't support it because they don't know what it is. I believe support would be at an all-time low if people actually understood the implications of what this would do. So on that note, thank you so much, everyone, for hanging out. And hang out, Adam, for a minute. And until next time, stay free, my friends.